Hello, my dear students. Good morning to you all, and warm welcome to our higher secondary section. And this is Mrs. Radhi, and I am here to present Bio-Zoology class for you. Well, before we move into the class, since it's a new beginning for you, just commit ourselves to the feet of God to receive the blessings. In the Holy Bible, the first chapter, Genesis 1 and 1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." My dear students, from day one of this earth, God was our creator. He is the ultimate creative being, and He is always making us new and giving us new beginning. Meanwhile, chapter 21 and 5 says, "I make all things new." My dear students, God's ultimate goal of renewal is to become everything perfect. This Bible verse about a new beginning reveals that every moment brings a fresh start. So God has made and He is making all things new. This includes you and me also. Today is very special for you since you are at the point of the new start. One fresh academic year is in front of you to travel. So let us begin this journey with the blessing of God. I would like to give this in James chapter 1 5. It says, "If any one of you looks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him." What an amazing promise! The God of this universe stands by ready to willing to give abundant wisdom to those who ask based only on their trust and confidence in Him, not on their track record. So, my dear students, I request to you, whenever you sit to work, just to tell this verse and begin your work. Let God bless you abundantly. We can move into this class's subject. So first of all, till 10th grade, you may have learned with this different mark allotment and different question pattern. So now you are entering into a new academic year and a new path, that is the higher secondary, and your mark allotment as well as the question pattern may entirely change. So first of all, let me give one clear illustration regarding this mark allotment as well as the question pattern. Fine. Okay. First, we can go for the mark allotment. So dear students, so you will appear the examination for 600 marks. So your total mark is 600. Fine. Which includes biology carries 100 marks. So biology includes biobotany as well as biozoology. Biobotany is for 50 marks as well as biozoology is for 50 marks. Fine. Among this, theory marks 35 marks from botany as well as 35 marks from zoology. So overall 70 marks. And the practical mark 15 marks from botany and 15 marks from zoology, overall 30 marks. So your overall mark is 100 marks. Is it clear? Okay. So you will have four different kinds of these questions. There is 1 mark questions, 2 mark questions, 3 mark questions and the 5 mark questions. Right? And you will have 8 1 mark questions, so 8 into 1 equal to 8 marks, and you may have the 4 2 mark questions, so 4 into 2 8 marks, and you will get 3 mark questions, so 3 into 3 equal to 9 marks, and you will get 2 5 mark questions, so 2 into 5 equal to 10 marks. So totally overall 35 marks. Is it fine? Okay. So you have the two textbook, volume 1 as well as volume 2. So volume 1 consists of 7 chapters and the volume 2 consists of 6 chapters. So overall 13 chapters. So dear students, our goal is we have to gain these 35 marks from these 13 chapters. So let us all work together to attain this success. Fine? Okay, fine. We can move to the subject. The first chapter is this living world. Of course, my dear students, this is not your new topic. You may have learned this topic from your lower class onwards, even from the first standard even. The first standard you may have learned this subject, this title as is living things and the non-living things. So you may have learned the living things, what are all the living things, what are all non-living things, what is the difference between the living things, what are the features of these living things, differentiation between the non-living and living things, etc. etc. Fine. The same topic is here, so here we have to learn a little more elaborately, that's all. Fine. So let us see in the today's topic what are the things we have to deal today, right? The first thing, diversity in the living world, and the second one, need for classification, and the third one, we have to learn history of classification. So this is the three objectives we have to cover up today, and let us move into the first one, that is diversity in the living world. Okay, fine. So listen. So we all know the entire earth is rich with these plants and animals, which we can say it is a flora and fauna that everyone knows, right? And do you know one amazing fact is found among this one? So we know that everywhere this flora and fauna is there, and till now we have identified 8.7 millions of organisms. So what do you mean identified? We have identified these organisms, and we have given the scientific name for these organisms, and we have given the description for these organisms. We have given the particular classification for these organisms. All those things is over only for 8.7 millions of species, which includes this flora and fauna, everything. Fine. 8.7 million species names was given yet. But listen me, 86% of these land organisms as well as 91% of these ocean organisms yet to be identified. What do you mean by this? These are these organisms, 86% of these land organisms and 91% of these organisms is found again to be identified, which means we have not given the scientific name, we have not given the proper classification, we have not described it even. So just to imagine, so whatever we have identified is only few percentage, that means only 14% from land and only 9% from ocean organisms. Rest of the things is left. So could you imagine such a vast and rich biodiversity is found throughout this earth. Okay, and this vast variety of flora and fauna is found everywhere, and how it is surviving. Listen me, in entirely different environment it could be able to survive. For example, some of the organisms could able to survive in this polar ice caps, and meanwhile some could able to survive in the volcanic and hot springs even. Some could able to live in the shallow water, some could able to live in this ocean water, and some could able to live in the tropical forest, and some could able to live in the desert region also, and some could able to live in this aerial region, I mean air region, and some could able to live under the earth also. So look at this, what a vast variety is there, right? What deviation is there. So every organism is living in that particular environment with its own adaptation. With its own adaptation. Every organism has its own adaptation. What do you mean this word adaptation? For example, in simple word we can say fishes are living in this water, and fishes has its own adaptation such as the fins and the gills to survive inside this water. Meanwhile, the bird is living in the air, it has its own adaptation. For example, we can say light feather and the light bones, it has its own adaptation to survive in this air. So these are the words we can say it is adaptation. So whatever organisms it is and wherever it is living, it doesn't matter. It has its own adaptation to survive. Right? Okay, fine. Then here I am going to include one new term for you. So the first new term is called ecosystem. Right? Ecosystem. So what do you mean ecosystem? Right? So ecosystem means the community of living organisms and the non-living substances and their interrelationship. Fine. So the community of living organisms as well as the non-living substances and their interrelationship. Of course, we know the living things and the non-living things and the living things among itself, everything is interlinked with one another, right? So if we take one community, their living things will be there and non-living substances will be there. So the community of such a living as well as the non-living substances and their interrelationship, this deals with ecosystem, and this term was first given by the person A.G. Tansley. Is it fine? Ecosystem, it may be the one of the 2-mark question or it may comes under one of the 3-mark question. Is it clear? Okay. And the next term I am introducing here, it is known as biodiversity. Biodiversity. So biodiversity means the large group of species which is living in one particular ecosystem is termed as biodiversity. Have you got the point? The large number of species which is surviving or living in a particular ecosystem is known as biodiversity, which means, for example, we can take ocean is one biodiversity. Ocean consists of huge number of species. So this huge number of species is found in one ecosystem, that is called ocean. So this we can say it is ocean biodiversity. Have you got the point? So biodiversity means this large number of species which is accumulated in one particular environment or ecosystem is known as biodiversity. So this term is given by the person Walter Rosen. Is it clear? Okay. And now we can come to the next one. Have you got the point? So first we said what is ecosystem, and second we said what is biodiversity. Is it clear? And next we can go to the topic. We can say it is classification. So classification means, for example, you are in the class. Just imagine you are in the school. Just one of you meeting you so newly, and they used to ask to you, you are from which class, right? So if they meet you newly, they ask you, you are from which class. You know there is 4,000 to 5,000 students will be there in one school. So we to identify one each student, we have to classify them into different classes. We have to categorize or we have to arrange them in the different classes from LKG to 12th grade. We will say first standard, second standard, or first standard class, second standard class. So we are categorizing them, right? Or another one simple example we can say. We are just imagine you are going to one supermarket, right? In ordinary shops, we will give the list and the shopkeeper will collect the things and they will hand over to you. That's what it is. It will be fine. In case you are going to one supermarket, right? If you go to one supermarket, we will collect the basket and we will go inside the supermarket to collect the things. Fine. So inside the supermarket, they may have this large number of items, but it is not dumped together in one particular place. So they have arranged each and every items in one particular manner in one particular area. They have allotted different departments, right? For example, so groceries will be in one department, and toys will be in another one department, and chocolates will be in another one department, and stationeries will be in another one department. So you can go with the basket and you can collect. While looking, you can understand wherever it is located and in which manner it is arranged. Usually you can identify and usually you can collect things very easily. It is not necessary to disturb the staffs. Is it clear? So it is very easy. So if we arrange or if we categorize the things neatly in a particular order, it is easy to identify and easy to describe. Fine. And one more example they given for this classification. That is, for example, we are going to the library. Fine. We are going to the library. Library also may consist of the lakhs and lakhs of books. Fine. In the large library may consist of the crores of these books maybe. But it is not dumped together as we said. So if you go to the library, some magazines will be there, novels will be there, kids story will be there, scientific fact will be there, subjects books will be there, various and so on. So various books will be there. So all these items of books are arranged or categorized in a particular manner. So when we go to one library, easily we can go to that compartment and easily we can go to that particular part, and whatever you need, usually you can collect. It is not necessary to recurse this librarian there. Fine. So if it is arranged neatly in a particular manner, it is easy for everyone to collect as it is. Right. The same, just imagine for one supermarket or one for library, we need such a perfect classification or perfect arrangement, then can you imagine, as we said in the beginning, we have given the name for 8.6 millions of species in this world, and rest is left without naming. Fine. So 8.7 millions of species is identified, and it is must to arrange everything in one particular manner. Then only easily we can able to identify one organisms. We could know this name of these organisms, we can describe these organisms, we can learn about these organisms. Am I right? So that is called classification. So 8.7 millions of species we have identified and we have given the names. So surely we need one proper arrangement, proper categories to arrange to identify one particular organisms, to know about or to learn about it. Is it fine? So that is a basic need. That is the basic need for this classification. So here they have given this, and one new term, it is called taxa. Taxa, don't worry, taxa is nothing else. Here we have used the common term is called category. So books are arranged as a category, or supermarket things are arranged as a categories. The same here we are using the animals are arranged as different categories. Here instead of this category we substitute this scientific term that is called taxa. Have you got the point? That's all. So taxa means the scientific word we are using instead of category is called taxa. Okay. Then what do you mean taxonomy? Taxonomy means the science of classification is called taxonomy. The science of classification is called taxonomy. Have you got the point? So this taxonomy term was first given by the person Augustine Pyramus de Cantor. Augustine Pyramus de Cantor is the person first who has introduced the term called taxonomy. And then the next person, Aristotle, hope he is a very familiar person. He is known as the father of taxonomy. And the next person, Carolus Linnaeus, is known as father of modern taxonomy. Right? Okay. So this is a little description regarding this taxa. What is taxa? What is taxonomy? And who is father of taxonomy? And who is this father of modern taxonomy? Right. Now we can come to one of the very important questions, that is need of classification. So till now we talk about this classification and what is classification, what are these terms included under this classification. Now we can come to the point, next one, need of classification. Why should we need this classification? So it is one of the maybe it is one of the 5-mark question or 3-mark question, but it is one of the more important question, right? So let us see what is the need of this classification. So the first one, differentiate closely related species. Differentiate closely related species. So species in the sense, for example, closely related species will be there. For one of the example, I could say that is Rana hexadactyla is one of the species of frog, right? And meanwhile, Rana tigrina also one of the species of frog. Both is frog only, but Rana hexadactyla is one species, but Rana tigrina is another one species. So if we compare these two, it may have a little difference. That's why they put into different category or different taxa. Have you got my point? Even it is comes under the frog only. Genus is Rana only, but the species is differ, which means it may have little difference among themselves, right? So the difference is, we can say Rana hexadactyla is a wrinkled skin it has, and Rana tigrina has this greenish smooth skin, and it is one of the beautiful frog, they said. And Rana hexadactyla, they said, is a toad. Just one example we could say. So if we classify the organisms in a particular level, the one of this best use, they said, we could able to differentiate this closely related species. Have you got the point? Okay. And second one, we can able to differentiate our variation among the species. Even within a species, among the species also variation will be there. For example, human beings. Human beings, scientific name, we can say it is as Homo sapiens. So even Homo sapiens are one species, but one individual to individual, there is a lot of variation is there. Am I right? Morphological variations will be there. Genetic variations will be there, right? All are same species only, but even though within the species there is a lot of variations will be there. That is called, and that variability also we would able to learn with the help of this classification, right? Okay. And the third use is evolution of the species. Evolution, what have you heard the word evolution? Evolution in this sense we can say origin. Origin. If we consider one species, who is origin or where from it is evolved, that history says about this evolution of this particular species. Do you understand? The same example we could say, for example, human beings. Human beings' scientific name is Homo sapiens, right? These Homo sapiens are evolved from the previous person that is called Homo erectus. Homo erectus is evolved from the previous stage, it is Homo habilis. Homo habilis evolved from Ramapithecus, Dryopithecus, right? Dryopithecus, we can say ape-like structure. That's why we used to say this human beings are evolved from ape. Understand? So this is the evolutionary path. So if you through this classification method, we could able to learn the evolutionary path of this each species also. Is it fine? Okay. And the next one, create a phylogenetic tree. Phylogenetic tree in the sense, almost what I said in the previous point, the same. But here they included one term, it is phylogenetic tree. So phylogenetic tree in the means, have you remember this? That's in a lower class. Sometimes my teachers may ask to draw this family tree chart. Do you remember? Family tree. So when you draw one family tree, what will you do? You will draw a tree and the stem part, and sometimes they may ask you to paste this photo also, your family photos also in there. Am I right? Okay. So what you may have done, you may have drawn one tree diagram, and you may have pasted this or grandparents photo at the stem at the bottom, then your parents photo, then in the branches your photo will be there, right? That is called family tree. The same here, phylogenetic means the word evolved from the word evolution. So phylogenetic tree means nothing else, evolutionary tree. Is it clear? As we said the same example, we can say Homo sapiens evolved from Homo erectus. Homo erectus evolved from Homo habilis. Homo habilis evolved from Ramapithecus. So in this order, with the help of this order, they are drawing the tree shape. That tree is called phylogenetic tree. Understand? Okay. And of course, the last point is conveniently we can study this living organism. That is a major use we can say without any confusion, without any doubt that we can collect the clear description regarding each and every species. That is called, it is a conveniently we could study about this every species. That is the last use we can gain from this need of this classification. Is it clear? So need of this classification is one of the very important question. Of course, the first point we can say we can able to differentiate and this closely related species between the species, one species to the next species, between the species. And the second one, we can find this variation among the species. Fine. And the third one, evolution of the species, origin. The origin of the species we could identify. And the fourth one, create a phylogenetic tree. Phylogenetic tree means evolutionary tree. Is it clear? And the last one we can say, we can learn about, conveniently we can learn about each and every species. Is it clear? Okay. So the important things we have discussed yet, it is one of the thing is, what is ecosystem we said, and what is biodiversity we said, and what is taxonomy we said, and this and the persons who has termed each terms, and and the last one we said it is classification. Is it clear? And need of this classification. And the next, history of classification. Is it fine? History of classification. How they started to give this classification method, history. So anyhow, so we have found this vast variety of this flora and fauna on the earth, in everywhere, one pole to the next pole. So we need of one classification that everyone come to understand. So surely we need one classification, right? Without classification we cannot identify anything. So we must to need one classification method. So let us see what are the methods from the earliest period or ancient period onwards they followed to classify this organism. That is comes under this history of classification. Is it fine? Okay. Let us see the first method. So the earliest method, just they have categorized the total organisms into two types. That is beneficial organisms and harmful organisms. So whatever is useful for human beings, they may categorize. Whatever is useful for human beings, we can say they may categorize as a beneficial organisms. And whatever is not useful or not, or it is harmful to the human beings, they may categorize as harmful organisms. Right? So the earliest method, overall only two methods they have followed, that is beneficial organisms as well as harmful organisms, but it was not convenient for all in every manner and in every cases. So they may have forward little, they have moved little forward and they come to the second classification method, right? And another ancient method they have classified as five, that is domestic animals, wild animals, creeping animals, flying animals, as well as sea animals. Okay, they have classified as five: domestic, you know very well; wild, you know very well; creeping, you know very well; and flying animals as well as sea animals. So little more elaborately they have classified. And the next method by the person Aristotle. Aristotle, his book is known as it is History of Animals. In his book, he has classified the organism as three different categories as per the movement of these organisms, right? As per the movement of these organisms, Aristotle has classified the overall organisms into three types. That is walking, flying, swimming. So walking means of course we can say it's a terrestrial organisms. Flying means we can say of course it's aerial organisms, and swimming means we can say it is an aquatic organisms, right? And he has given this classification, but there is a lot of limitations they have found in his classification and the doubt they have created in his classification. One of the example they said frog. So frog is in during the tadpole stage. In the younger one stage, it is known as it's a tadpole. It is used to live in the aquatic region, right? And it will produce a gills to respire, and it is used to survive inside this water. But when it become adult, it used to get these lungs, and it could able to survive on the land also. So now frog is considered as one of the amphibian. It could be able to live in the water as well as it could be able to live on the land also. Then at which category it will be included then? Either it is terrestrial or aquatic. So there is a doubt again, right? And the next doubt they created about this birds. So he said whatever is flying is a birds. Of course they understood, but in some cases, in case of this penguin, in case of this ostrich, in case of this emu, it could not fly, but he has included these organisms as a birds. So again there is this doubt and confusion. So that's why most of these organisms are not coming under his categories. So they have started to reject this classification, and they have were moving forward, right? And even though 2000 years they have followed this classification system, they said, right? Okay. And one of this classification method is given again by this Aristotle. It is based on the blood. That is, as per the presence or absence of this red blood cells. Red blood cells, he has classified the organisms into two types, that is anemia as well as anemia. Anemia as well as anemia. Anemia in the sense presence of red blood cells, which means this blood will be in reddish in color. And if there is no red blood cells, of course this blood will be in whitish in color, that is known as anemia. They may ask it as a 2-mark question, differentiate anemia and anemia. So anemia means presence of red blood cells, meanwhile anemia means absence of red blood cells. So this classification also given by Aristotle, right? Okay. And after Aristotle period, another one person, his name is Theophrastus, and he is the student of this Aristotle. He has continued this work of this Aristotle. He's very familiar with this plants. That's why and Theophrastus is known as father of botany, right? One of this English naturalist, right? John Ray also continued the same taxonomic system and the classification method, and but he has emphasized the species as the unit of taxonomy. He has emphasized the word and the species. So species is a unit of taxonomy, which means if we give one taxonomy equal system, or if we give one order, and the species as per the species level only this category or classification will be framed. Even we used to call or we used to name everything as every organism as a species level only. So species, he considers species is unit of this taxonomy, right? It is one of the species is taking the major role in one taxonomical system. That's all, right? Okay. And his book is Methodus Plantarum Nova, and he has published this book in the year 1682, right? Okay. And the next person, Carolus Linnaeus, and he is one of the very familiar person for everyone, and already we have termed him as father of modern taxonomy, right? And he has introduced another one new term in this taxonomical system, that is called nomenclature method. So nomenclature means every species will be called with two names. That is, one is genus name, another one is species name. Genus names will be in the beginning and the species name will be at the end. For example, Homo sapiens, Periplaneta americana. It's the scientific name for cockroach. Periplaneta americana. So Periplaneta is genus names and Americana is a species name. So sometimes three names also will be followed. It may be as a subgenus name or subspecies name will be included, and mostly every species will be named or called as two names. That is called nomenclature method, which is given by Carolus Linnaeus, and even till we are following the same method. Is it clear? Fine. And the next one is called numerical taxonomy. Numerical taxonomy, again it is introduced. So from Aristotle period to Carolus Linnaeus period, they have classified organisms as per certain characters, maybe as per this and habitat where it is living, as per the morphological features where also will be included, and physiological features will be included. So they have considered some characters to classify these organisms, right? But in numerical taxonomy, other than this, they have noted several characters to classify this organism. That's why they have introduced the term numerical. Many character, minute character even they have noticed to classify organisms. So that may give the one exact classification. So without doubt, without confusion, we could give the exact classification. If we go each and every level, even in the minute character also will be considered different. Minute different character also will be considered to give this numerical taxonomy. So with the help of this computer analysis, statistics, so these things also will be included for this taxonomical system. So to classify these organisms, so our previous persons, I mean, we have called it as a father of taxonomy, father of modern taxonomy. So those persons, Aristotle and Carolus Linnaeus, has considered few different characters to categorize these animals, to classify these animals. But in numerical taxonomy, each and every minute character also included. With the help of this computer analysis as well as with the help of this statistics, everything, they consider each and every character to categorize these animals, so we can get this exact species, right? That is called numerical taxonomy. And the next term, which is called phylogenetic classification, or it is otherwise known as cladistics. Phylogenetic classification. So regarding the phylogenetic classification, we have already said in this need of classification, phylogenetic tree we said. Do you remember? Phylogenetic tree. So phylogenetic tree means this phylogenetic term is derived from evolution. It is coming from evolution. So as per this evolutionary path, the organisms will be classified. That is called phylogenetic classification or cladistic. Have you got the point? And as per the evolutionary path, as I said, one of the example I said for human being, Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens are evolved from Homo erectus. Homo erectus evolved from Homo habilis. Homo habilis evolved from Ramapithecus. So, as per this evolutionary path or as per this evolutionary tree, the organisms will be classified. The classification level is given as per the evolutionary path, right? That is called cladistic classification. Understand? It is also one of the 3 mark question. And so this cladistic classification is given with the help of this one chart or diagram, that is called cladogram. Is it clear? So like a tree, like a family tree, like a phylogenetic tree, this cladistic also used to drawn with the help of this one diagram. That is called one graph or one diagram. That is called cladogram. Have you got the point? So just imagine like a family tree in this that we have learned in the lower class. Family tree, what we said. So this at the base, grandparents will be there, and from the grandparents, their first generation will be there. From the first generation, second generation will be produced. Just imagine. So grandparents are there. From the grandparents, their first children will be produced. When the first generation is produced, they may derive some character from their parents, and they may have derived some character from the environment also. So the first generation offsprings or first offsprings, they may receive the character from the parents, and they may receive the character from the environment also. So they will have both the characters. Parental character also will be there, and they will get this outside character also. That is for first generation. And imagine in the second generation, these parents are producing the second generation. Second generation, just we can imagine 10 children are there. So these 10 children may have some character from their own parent, and they may have very few character from their grandparent, and they may have some other character from environment also, right? So when we compare, listen, grandparents has had one character. From the character, few transfer to the first generation. From the few transfer to the second generation. From the few transfer to the third generation, and very little will be followed for the fourth generation. And finally, if it's during this evolutionary path, during course of time, 10 generation will be produced, 100 generation will be produced. In the 100th generation, if you look at the character, it may be really different from the grandparents of this one. Have you got my point? So like this is like a tree chart. So this method is called this you know uh, generation by generation, character will be changed. Finally, the last one may be evolved into one new species without the parental character. Have you got the point? That is called cladistic classification. So this used to drawn with the help of this one chart or one graph, that is called cladogram, which is given by the person Ernst Haeckel. So Ernst Haeckel has given cladogram. Do you understand? And so hope we can end with the class with this topic, and we can come to this next topic in the next class. And I will give few assignments for you. Few questions are given. Define ecosystem, define biodiversity, define define taxonomy, and need for classification, and history of classification, right? So for definition, it may be 2 mark or as a 3 mark. Need for classification also will be asked as a 3 mark questions or 5 mark question even. And history of classification, together it will be asked as a 5 mark question, or every scientist names, evolutionist, with the evolutionist names also it will be asked as a 3 mark question or 2 mark question, even as a 1 mark questions. And there is a lot of one word is there, and the terms who is derived from the persons and the scientist names, everything will be there. And please students, just you open the book and read line by line thoroughly. You learn line by line, read line by line, and mark the questions. And these are the few highlighted questions I have given, but the questions will be asked in any area that it is not sure, right? So these few highlighted questions we can note down now, and you can go through these questions. And some highlighted questions alone I have given now, but your duty, you have to read line by line. Maximum you have to read line by line, and you have the pencil and underline this one words, and you create the questions and you mark the questions. And of course, before we meet in the next class, hope you will learn these questions and be ready to answer. And then next class we can meet again. If there is any doubt also, you can ask, no problem at all, right? Hope you have understood. And bye, then we can meet to the next class.